Hey y'all, we are back for another episode of the Black Gems Dive In podcast. This is season 4, episode 4. Super excited to be here again. I am flying solo today. I have a couple things that I've talked about with my co-host. She can't make it, but she's here in spirit as always. But we have some amazing guests that we're going to be joining us today, and we're really excited to have y'all. Before we do that, we always like to dive in and get right to a hot topic. So I'm going to dive in, and then we'll introduce you as well. So we're going to dive in. The topic today is about some leadership changes that are happening in Buffalo with our nonprofit sector. Trina Burris is being named the CEO of the United Way of Buffalo, and so we're super excited to hear that. I know that post was led by Mike Weiner, who had been in that position for about 12, 13 years. So she has some really big shoes to fill, but we are super excited for her. Congratulations, Trina. We can't wait to see what you do at the United Way. So we're actually going to jump in and introduce our guests today. Super excited to have Durgham and Leah. They are going to talk a little bit about Lockstep. And Lockstep is a platform that was created for a safe space for people of color. Of course, we advocate for a lot of different folks on our podcast, but we want to make sure that we talk a little bit more about what that looks like. How do we create safe spaces for people of color? This is an application, and y'all are going to tell us a little bit more about that. So I want to invite y'all to introduce yourself. Leah, you want to go first and just talk a little bit about what you're doing?
Well, thank you for having Durgham and I on the show today.
Absolutely.
So my name is Leah Angel Daniel, and I am the founder and executive director of Fostering Greatness, Inc. So that is a nonprofit organization that assists foster care youth, young adults, and alumni of color who are transitioning out of the foster care system. But I also assumed another position, which is my 9-to-5.
Okay.
I am currently the director of the Care Management Coalition of Western New York, located at 1021 Broadway. So I'm truly excited about that. And I'm here today with Durgham because we serve on the oversight committee for the leaders of color. I was in the first cohort for the Rockwood leaders of color.
Yes.
And so this has been an amazing journey, just watching this small idea flourish to something bigger and better than what we imagined. So I'll turn it over to Durgham, and he'll introduce himself, and we'll go from there.
And before we do that, if Leah sounds familiar, that's because she's actually been on the podcast. I should have said that before. So welcome back to the podcast. It's always great to get folks to come back and share some more knowledge with us. So happy to have you again.
Thank you.
Durgham.
Cool. Thank you for having us. Really, really excited to talk to you today for many reasons, but the LOC Step, which stands for Leaders of Color, Socializing to Encourage Progress.
Okay.
It's a platform that was funded, supported by the Oshai Foundation, and it really started because of the need in the community for safe spaces that allows for authentic conversations that allow for transparency without needing to whisper or code switch. And that was the need that really stemmed or encouraged us and motivated Leah and I and our other colleagues on the oversight committee to be part of not just the oversight of the creation of this platform, but also the design. I always say that this saying resonates with me in everything I do, which is nothing about us without us is for us. So to create a platform that's made for people of color without them being at the very center of the creation, the design, it's hard to make that argument. And that's why the Oshai were very intentional in going about creating this platform. And that's why I've been working with Leah for the past year and a half in the design side of it. And finally, we're ready to launch it, to see the fruits of our labor.
Yes.
It's very, very exciting time for us.
It is exciting. Well, first of all, congratulations. I know being kind of tangential to some of the conversations that have been going on, Oshai has been doing a really great job of bringing leaders of color together, right? So I know the Rockwood Foundation is a program, and it's the Karen Lee Spalding Oshai Leaders of Color program.
That's right.
Yes.
Where they actually, people will apply, they become a part of this larger cohort. go through a training, a week-long conversation, and then throughout the year have different opportunities to kind of engage with one another. So I think, we'd be remiss not to just mention Karen Lee Spalding, who has played a really large role in terms of putting that together and making sure that came to fruition.
Shout out to Karen. Please. And shout out to Mark Scott, who,
absolutely,
came after Karen and who's been making big strides with us. Karen is still supportive in everything that we're doing, and she shows up and she's there, and she still is part of the process. So it really, really works for us. Yeah. And then with Mark just, being there, being new, and just coming in and just, really taking a role within Lockstep and really allowing us to basically mediate everything and really move forward, but he really believes in the process and believes in us. So I just like having him there as the leader, and really just asking us, what do you think? What do you want to do? What does this look like? And we're really in control of this.
And I think that's, it's amazing because, Durgham, you said something, and honestly, I think it was a longer version for what I would say, like FUBU, right? For us, by us, right? Like making sure that we're integral in that process where we're designing things and have our needs in mind, right? But I think it speaks really to Oshai and saying, hey, we see that this is a need. We're going to support it. Speaking of new leadership, Oshai is also under new leadership as well, with Christina Orsi as their new president and CEO. And so I think just that continuation of, just larger ideas that bring people together is really important to highlight. So, under that notion of for us, by us, can you just, both of y'all, just talk a little bit more about the application itself and the platform? What does that look like? What type of conversations are going to be hosted on there? I'm actually, I was a part of I don't know if this is the beta or whatever phase it was, right? And so I see some of those conversations coming through, which have been really cool, right? Like book club conversations that are happening, people talking about maybe job opportunities. What else can people expect on this platform?
Well, let me just take a step back and take it to the Karen Spalding Oshai Rockwood Fellowship, which was really the origins of how I even got involved with the entire Lockstep. And my involvement started when I was at SAYS Buffalo, when our organization...
Jamil is raising his hands. People can't see that.
I see Jamil. I still say our organization when I say yes, because of the inclusive culture. I always say it's a family culture, because everywhere I go, I feel like I'm a part of this team and that team. But at SAYS, I always felt like I was a part of a family. Awesome. So it's tough for me to walk away, although I walked away from the organization, to say they. I still say we. Because once you're family,
absolutely,
right? Absolutely. So again, just taking it back, SAYS really encouraged the culture in the organization of self-development and growth, professionally, personally. And when that opportunity opened up, Dave Russ was the first to send an email and say, if anybody's interested, I'll encourage you, support you in the process. So when I applied, I got all the support I needed internally. I got through the program. It was the pandemic. So it was the first phase of the fellowship, the leadership cohort, that was fully virtual.
Gotcha.
So both us, the students, and the facilitators were both learning how to cope with this new method of delivery. And after it was done, we learned something that was, I feel like it's at the core of everything I do today, which is courageous conversations. Conversations that require you to drop down the filter and just look somebody in the eye and say, this is exactly how I feel. So those really led me then to say, well, I love what I'm doing at SAYS, but now I want to push myself to grow, to be of more use to other leaders of color in the community. And support my community in more ways than what I did in my previous role with SAYS. And that's how I joined the United Way. In my current role as the program director for Work-Life Solutions, which is a program that focuses on empowering and supporting the workforce in Buffalo, across all sectors. So this is where I am today. This is how I got to where I am today. But one thing that was really integral to how I got to where I did was my involvement with the Oshai Foundation Fellowship, the Rockwood Fellowship Program, because I even remember as part of my interview with the United Way, they asked me, well, you're part of this. You just did this second cohort with Oshai. What is that? Tell us more about that.
Gotcha.
And kid you not, I think my interview was a full hour, all in all. the first 20 minutes, I knocked out the first maybe 5-6 questions they asked me.
Okay.
And then the rest for the 30 minutes I spent just talking about the impact of the program and what it did for me as a professional.
Yes.
And in hindsight, that may have been why I am where I am today.
Okay.
Which I really, really appreciate the fact that it was a stepping stone for me as a person of color to get to where I am today. And I'm sure with certainty that every cohort, doesn't matter who the person is, and Leah was the first cohort, she led the pack.
Yes, I was the first cohort. Yes.
I'm sure everybody was impacted by this program in a meaningful way.
Absolutely.
But the extent of that impact differs based on where we are in our careers, in our life in general. Sure.
Yes, because during that time, I know I had just had a baby when I went into cohort 1, and I was really trying to find my way.
Okay.
I've always been a leader in some way, shape, or form, but I'm like, what am I going to do now? I'm approaching 40. What are my next steps? I'm finishing up my doctoral degree in executive leadership. What's next? What kind of impact and influence do I want to project out to the people that, I'm with a lot of the times and who I want to assist? And as you all know, my focus is the foster care community, one of the most forgotten, underserved, and just, they're out here, homeless, without stability. And it's like, how do I impact them and influence them? What do I do? And again, having those courageous conversations, really assisting others in their perception of what they think of or the stereotypes that are out there of this particular population. So just saying that, this is what foster care youth need. This is what they're going through. And a lot of times, I am a foster care alumni myself. I went through the foster care system, and people will say, you don't look like
at the level of success you've been able to get to.
Exactly. So going through a program like that really helped with my sense of worth. Okay. Helped me with knowing that I can grow more and learn more. And it instilled this type of, how can I say, it's like not mojo or not, just this type of strength that I knew that I had these group of individuals who really understood me, that what we talked about, they were gonna, hold me accountable, but also they were going to assist me in my journey. Now, since then, I had like 2 or 3 jobs. And they were like, listen, Leah, if it's not for you to move to the next level, go do these different things. But they also supported me when I had events for, these foster care youth. And, just having conversations with people that you knew who understood some of the hardships or the microaggressions that you go through. And again, I can't say it enough, that safe space, knowing that what you spoke about, you're not going to hear about at the table.
The Vegas rules,
with the, what's said here stays here, and that. So I think just having that, because a lot of times, especially as people of color, we don't have those safe spaces. We don't know who to trust to, because there's retaliation if you speak about certain things, or what's going to happen to my job. And a lot of us cannot afford to not have a job, So
I think even more dangerous is sometimes the false sense of safety, where you join an organization because of the mission. It's like, oh, we're all about inclusion, diversity.
And it's not the truth.
It is not, because when you come to the spaces, you look around and you see people that have same skin color as you or same background as you. And you notice that every time they're speaking their truth, their voice and tone go down, and they're looking right and left before they speak their truth. And that immediately begs the question, well, where is inclusion? Sure, it's in the mission, but where is it in practice? And this really annoys me, bugs me, bothers me, because the spaces then in the community where you're looking around for support and empowerment, especially when you're looking for mentorship. This is where I find the most value. Because when I look around in Buffalo, there's so many people that I look at as role models because of their true definition of leadership. They're the leadership in practice, not just in marketing.
And I think I think it's exactly a really great point to land on too, like in terms of that mentorship. And that's something that we often talk about like on the pod, where, for people of color, there are different nuances that we might go through in our experience, our professional journeys, that you can't just talk to anybody about, right? Like I can look at you and give you a look that you might recognize more than, you know, someone who's not of color, right? And so you're hitting on something around like mentorship and creating those opportunities to kind of come together. And that honestly sounds like what the Rockwood Foundation, like the Rockwood program was about, because you also had peer mentorship where you could lean on each other and say, hey, I've gone through this specific issue. Have you? And how did you kind of figure out what to do about it, you know?
Yeah. And it's people of all different ages. So it's not just like young leaders or older leaders. Like it's a mixed group. So you have mixed experiences and some people who, you know, are retired and they're like, listen, I went through this already, you know, and then we have younger professionals who, you know, they're like, okay, I see, you know, how this is going and I want to learn some more of these skills. So it's really a variety of different things. And so we're always learning.
Right. And I think one of the opportunities that the Lockstep provides us as people of color is it really helps us avoid being in a position where there's this kind of like preconceived notion that you're a black woman, you must be the expert in X. You're a black man, you must be the expert in X. You're a brown man, you must be the expert in X. And I felt that all the time. Because as a new American, I came to this country as a refugee 16 years ago, as an Iraqi refugee. And when I came here, my experience was unique to me. Because as a refugee, I came as a refugee from Iraq, but transitioned through Jordan. There are refugees who come from Syria who transition through Turkey. The refugees who come from Rwanda who come through Egypt. Each one of us, though we're all refugees, though we've had that shared experience, but it is a unique experience is what's really important. So then as a result, I oftentimes find people looking at me saying, well, you know, this person is seeking asylum. You know, do you know the next step in what they have to do? And I'm like, no, I don't. Like, as a matter of fact, I don't.
As a matter of fact.
but this is, I think, I see it everywhere. Because I in many ways, organizations just taking it back to that sense of, you know, let's check the box of diversity. Now that we have people of color working for us, we must be all about inclusion and diversity, but in practice, we're not. Those same individuals inside those spaces are also being put in positions where they're looked at like, all right, tell us about diversity.
Good point. Very good point.
I may live it. That's my life. That's my experience. But I'm not the expert to come and teach you it.
And challenge systems.
And it's not my job to do it either.
Absolutely. And that's why sometimes it puts us in a in a really tough position where it jeopardizes even our liveliness in terms of like our jobs. Because, well, I thought it was safe space and here I am preaching, right? But before you know it, all those HR folks are taking notes of every single comment. They're like, wait a minute. Did I overstep? Did I make somebody uncomfortable? And I always say that courageous conversations are uncomfortable conversations. They have to be uncomfortable because otherwise it's the same conversation that's being had for the 100th time. And clearly it's not moving the needle.
And where does change come from?
Where does change, change has to be uncomfortable. Because otherwise it's probably just more of the same that's branded differently.
I agree.
And you get to learn other people's perceptions. You know, a lot of us have different backgrounds, although we may be people of color. You know, our experiences, how we've grown up, our beliefs, our values. So those things, we have to take those into account also, you know, and learn how to respect each other. You may not agree with everything that I say, but that respect factor has to be there.
100%. And it's all rooted in inclusion, I say. Because I use this as an example, and it shows you how much trust and empowerment Oshai gave us, the oversight committee, in the Lockstep design, I suppose, years. Because I remember vividly at some point when Karen had just left, Mark Scott was just coming into the position. And the Lockstep was originally created as a platform for leaders of color in the nonprofit sector. And then internally, we looked at each other and we said, well, hold on a second. I know friends who work in the private sector who are more or who are less supported than pinpoint anybody, because maybe within their sector, the dynamics, the cultures of their organizations don't even encourage
those type of conversations.
Absolutely.
They don't even have diversity in the mission.
Right.
Not even the look of it is there. So then literally talk to each other like, is this fair?
And even as entrepreneurs, a lot of us are coaches and consultants. What does that look like? We still need encouragement and support, and we still need to learn the ropes too, where there was a lot of people who already still have skin in the game, and we would like to learn from them. So I think that was very helpful too. So opening that door where we're not just picking a specific group, where other people may want to jump from one thing to the next or want to learn more about that. So that opportunity was there.
Right. And that's why, again, shout out to Mark Scott and the Oshai Foundation, because they literally said to us, well, no, you decide.
You decide. And for us, by us, right?
100%. 100%. So that really made us feel like, all right, well, there is more to this than just the design. There's actually like carrying out this, the purpose, the very purpose of this group is by us as well. And I can tell you, every single person on the oversight committee is so committed to this work that whether it's 8 a.m. or 7 p.m., you let us know where, how, and when we'll be there. And that shows you that this is not just something that's, this is not just a platform. Yeah. This is part of our identity. Everybody I know in the oversight committee, but also a lot of the colleagues in the nonprofit sector, leaders of color, they're really, really looking for a space like this. I'm constantly having these conversations with colleagues that I think are extremely talented. They're looking for that mentorship, that support, but that support is not me because, well, if you're looking for support and your area of focus, I'm going to say like higher education. Yeah. I might be of help to you because my first master's degree was in higher education, so come to me, right? But if it's not higher ed, I might not be the best person for that support you're looking for. So then the platform comes in handy when you say, well, everybody, this is what I'm looking for. This is my, challenge. Who's here to support me? And it becomes a space where nobody has to put on a filter. Right. You just speak your mind, and you get all that support, that mentorship. From a space where you don't, again, have to lower your voice or look right and left to make sure you're surrounded by the right, folks. Right. And this is what we're all about.
So I think that brings up a really great point too. Like, we often have conversations with people who have maybe recently moved to Buffalo, to this area, or are considering it. And something that comes up time and time again is, okay, I'm new to Buffalo. I look around. I don't see that many people who look like me. I don't know a place to actually go where I can get support or even told, hey, this is where I go get my hair done, or, hey, this is where you need to go, something specific to my own culture. And so this is a conversation that comes up again. Where do we find these specific spaces? And I think mentorship hits on a lot of that as well, because there's been many conversations that I've had, even with someone like a Mark Scott, who, people who are in different positions can really come in and tell you, hey, might consider this, or you might consider that. A former job of mine, I remember having a conversation around, bringing people into roles, right? Like how do they find opportunity? What would you do? And I remember speaking to, this was a older white man who said, you know what? When I need to find, like say my kids are looking for a specific job, I call up my friend and say, hey, my kid is looking for a job. Can you get them an internship? Can you allow them to get an entry-level position? But a lot of the networks, there's a thing called the network gap, and we talk about it as it relates to different biases. There's a network gap that says, I can tell you how successful you're going to be depending on what zip code you live in. A lot of people of color struggle with that because we don't have the networks that can allow us these different type of experiences. And so I think this is also an opportunity for people of color to come together and say, hey, we have these opportunities. Share this amongst your groups, or share this among your network. So it sounds like this application and framework will be able to do that through the Lockstep app. But what else can we expect from it? And so I know there's been a lot of conversations that are happening. I know of one that's happening tonight. Yes. A book club. Yes. That's kind of happening. So what other things can people expect to be able to get in touch with?
So personally, it's been a major learning curve for me. Okay. People put in different articles and different pieces that we learn about, but also we have the book club. But specifically for the book club, we have places that we go eat at that's specifically BIPOC. Yeah. But it's run by, or the food is prepared by people of color.
Okay.
We try to utilize different spaces. So today they're at Princessa's Art Gallery for utilizing the space. Yep. And they have a caterer, TC Catering, and she is phenomenal. So what Mark has done is, like, each time we have an event, it's specifically to enhance the knowledge base of these different areas in the city of Buffalo that are run by people of color, so that we can learn about them, know about them, utilize their services and things of that sort. So I think that's been a pretty huge thing, because we went to Brothers, he just...
Shout out to Brothers and that lobster fry. That
we had
lobster.
that gumbo too.
I didn't try that gumbo.
Like the Rasta pasta or something like that.
Okay.
Oh, it was delicious.
That fried lobster, my friends and I, we always say it has us in a chokehold. We got to go to Brothers at least once a week. Shout out to Brothers.
Yes, and then the opportunity of just other people of color. Like, I didn't know about the the Olmsted Conservatory.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I met some people there. So now when I was at another leadership event, I'm like, oh my goodness, hi Z, how are you? All these different people. So having that platform for other people to come in who are not just African American or Spanish, you know what I mean? Yeah. To come in and say, okay, now we're familiar, we're learning more about other organizations and what they do and how we can partner or things like that. So I think that's been very helpful.
100%. I feel like by definition, we're living our mission.
Okay.
Because I have this conversation still like vivid in my mind, where it's like one of those 8 a.m. meetings. I'm driving to work while in the meeting, trying to sort out my day.
Multitasking.
Yep. And then
I'm like, hopefully you're paying attention to the road.
Yeah, don't be an accident.
Paying attention.
Okay.
And then, we're talking about, all right, well, let's bring everybody from the community, all leaders of color, to get their feedback. And Akua, I remember you being there in the first, cohort that we were kind of surveying.
Yeah.
And we're talking about, well, we're going to take, 2 hours of everybody's day. That's a lot of time. Let's do something in return, something nice for them. And we're talking about gift cards. And every organization will tell you the same thing. The easiest way, it's an Amazon gift card, because it's electronic, straight to their email.
Yeah.
You're just putting emails. That's easy.
Right?
And then I remember I'm driving and I struggled to unmute my phone. And I said, well, hold on a minute. Yeah. We're all about empowering the BIPOC community.
Right.
Why aren't we giving gift cards to BIPOC-owned businesses?
Sure.
Right.
Because then we're living our mission.
Sure.
Right.
And literally, it was everybody screaming, and yes, that makes sense. Hell yeah, let's do it.
Okay.
And before I even got a chance to unmute again, it was said and done. Like, that's how we're moving forward.
Right.
So it nothing about it, I want to say, is predetermined. It's all led. It's for us, led by us, right?
Okay.
So that kind of spirit is always allowing us then to take it back to your question, Akua. Well, what else is out there? What else is inside this platform? The platform is not sealed.
Okay.
There's nothing final about it. In fact, to your point, I think Stephanie Pete brought up this point at some point, one of our colleagues in the oversight committee.
Yeah.
And she said, well, I have a lot of friends in Rochester, a lot of friends out of town who come here for some of these events, but then the event is over and they look around like, all right, well, now what do I do?
Where do we go?
Where we go?
Yeah.
And based on her comment, we thought, well, let's create now a group specifically for socializing. Where are those gems inside Buffalo?
Okay.
Where do we go if we just want to have a drink, we want to eat?
Yeah.
So some of these things are constantly developing.
Okay.
Right.
And it doesn't end or stop there. I always say it's shaped by the environment.
Right.
Like the social unrest that started with the killing of George Floyd was a tough time for all of us. Whether you're Black, brown, Latino, it was a tough time because we did not know where to have those conversations and how to have those conversations. So the Lockstep here comes in and offers this space in the sense that now we can create a group that's solely focused on that one issue.
Right.
And then you're surrounded by individuals who share your background, your values.
Right.
And you're having this conversation and you're actually learning and growing together.
Okay.
And this is why I say it's so valuable, because most initiatives will begin, and the beginning, it's almost like the outline is the blueprint for the end, because here's where we are, and it tells you right there, it's not even between the lines, it's in the lines, that this is as far as we'll go.
Okay.
So for Mark to come in and say, you guys tell me what makes sense.
Yeah.
Right.
And he always goes back to the same thing, which I know Leah and I struggle with because we're both like nonprofit mindset oriented.
Yeah.
And he said to us one day, "Oh, the sky's the limit. Think big." And we're all like, "Well, but what is the cost?
What about budget? What about
quite literally?
Are you sure?
Right.
You know?
Right.
I remember we're all looking at each other like, "But
sky's the limit. What does that mean?
what's the budget?
What's the catch?
Right.
What's the catch? Right?"
And I think that's a big, big shout out to Oshai Foundation for that, because I know I've been engaged with them before there was the Rockwood conversation. They were hosting sessions for leaders of color and saying, hey, we're going to take everybody out to this conference center in Java, New York, Beaver Hollow. We don't have an agenda. This is just for leaders of color to come together, to have respite even. Like, you can stay overnight. This is on our dime. Yeah. And fostering those type of conversations. That doesn't happen that often, right?
And 100%. It's needed. It's needed. So needed. And I just want to say, too, we got to shout out Tala Harden. Tala, oh my goodness, she's the glue that keeps us together 100%. With the Oversight Committee. And I just want to say she's done a phenomenal job with putting out a newsletter, too, also to our community for Lockstep. And she highlights the leaders, things we may not even know. Like, a lot of people didn't know that I had a book coming out, and she actually came to my office.
Shout out to you, too, for that. Come on now.
Shout out. Don't just skip out
on
here.
over that, because I'm like, she got a book coming out.
Yes. And Tala was like, listen, this is big. Like, I want the community to know about this within Lockstep, because it's important, and it talks about trauma and different things, you know, and maybe some things that people didn't know about me,
right?
And some of the struggles, but just her being able to have the ability to come out and do those visuals, not just photos, but videos, and then ask the important questions about what we want to know as leaders about other people. So I just want to just shout out to her, because she provides that how can I say, that platform for us to feel comfortable to want to share, and she puts it together
and
so nicely.
Celebrating those type of wins, because I think that's the other piece is like, often, you got a lot of different things that are going on, but having a group where you can even celebrate the things that you're doing or accomplishing is really important as well. So shout out to both of y'all, and shout out to the Oversight Committee on the Lockstep application that's going to be coming out to. When is this coming out to folks? When can they expect, to be able to access it? I know a lot of people might be excited after hearing this, like, hey, I got to get in on this. So
our press release should go out next week, early next week, for the official launch of the platform.
Okay.
We've been working with the beta group for the last almost 8 months now.
Yeah.
But we're finally in a position where we've collected enough feedback to create a platform that's not just serving the purpose, but it's also user-friendly. Because sometimes the right conversations are the right conversations, but the spaces where they're being had are not welcoming. They're not the right spaces, not safe. So our very mission and value focused on safety, authenticity, and transparency. So we wanted to make sure that we're living those values. We're creating a platform that actually check all these things before we take it out. And that's when we finally felt like, okay, this is time. Right now we have a little bit over 120 members in the platform in the beta.
And growing.
Just added Brandy earlier today. Shout out to Brandy.
And Brandy, my good friend, is part of it now. But again, now that we're ready to open it, when it does open, because the emphasis here is BIPOC leaders, what we want to do is create a way for us to make sure that it is actually just BIPOC. So even from the Oshai side, just to show you how committed they are to this group, only BIPOC staff from Oshai Foundation are actually in the platform.
Wow.
Yes. So truly BIPOC for BIPOC, by BIPOC.
Yes.
And this is where we are right now. Hopefully when we officially launch it next week, everybody, all of us in this platform will be able to mass invite everybody. So look on your LinkedIn. If you follow me, if you find me on LinkedIn, you're going to see it on LinkedIn. All of us will be putting through our social media.
And I'll be on the social media handles. Durgham is only on LinkedIn, but I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter.
Durgham.
You'll find me.
Okay. So what if he said, look me up on LinkedIn. He said, I ain't got all the rest.
Send an email.
I ain't got all the rest of those.
I actually this is probably the best platform to have this conversation. I was one of those people who walked away from Facebook after the 2016 election. because I started to realize who's with the program and
who owns data and all that extra. That's another podcast.
That's
That's another podcast we have to get into.
But it was tough for me to realize that Facebook wasn't a safe space for me. And I walked away from it in 2016. Never had a Facebook since.
Okay.
And I've only stuck to LinkedIn because it's more filtered.
That makes sense.
You need to write an op-ed on that and put it into the platform and talk about it. Some people may agree with you.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. So again, taking it back to this platform, this is finally a place where people don't have to feel like they have to jeopardize their comfort for the sake of having a real good conversation.
Okay.
Or jeopardize their jobs or jeopardize anything else where they just maybe want to vent, where they may be looking for new employment, where they just need support and where they just want to enhance their skills or learn new things. I mean, the opportunities are endless there.
This actually just reminds me of a recent conversation I had on Lockstep where one of the members in the platform, though again it's just a beta, but I talk a lot about my constant challenge of balancing my executive MBA program and being working full time and newly married, and it's chaotic in my life. But one of the members on the platform reached out and said, well, I'm looking for an MBA program and I was thinking of this college. What do you think? And they asked me from my background in higher education rather than being in a program.
Being in a specific, right.
Yeah, right. And my thought to them was immediately, well, sure, I do have this knowledge, but let me tell you my lived experience that I'm in right now.
Right.
And I shared with them that after being in professionally working for 5 years and going back for a second master's degree, it was a tough decision for me to invest that much money in a program for the second time.
Right.
And the second time I became selective because, and that was my message, is you don't have to spend 2 years and take a whole lot of loans to be selective, to learn my experience. Here, take it from me.
Take it. And that, I think, that's a major resource in itself, right? Being able to learn from other people. They always talk about humans having the ability to learn from other people, and usually we don't, right? We have to make our own mistakes to kind of learn, but this sounds like it's another 100%. Opportunity to even do that. So I want to thank y'all for coming on. I think that's been a lot of great information for folks that are looking to, get onto this application. It'll be out next week. Can't wait to hear more about it. We'll have to give people an update after you open it up to other folks.
We'd love to.
We always end with a gem of the day, so I'm going to open up the floor to one of you. Who wants to start first?
Leah, go ahead. Please lead us.
Oh, Durgham just put me on the spot.
Look, he put you on the spot.
I just say, to whom much is given, much is required.
Okay.
And we've been blessed with a lot. And we have it, and we need to give it. And so I just like to say that I'm just giving back to my community what was given to me as I was growing up. And I'm happy to do it, and I feel fulfilled doing that.
Awesome. Thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome.
Durgham, what you got?
Mine is, and it's something I've been living by for a long time, especially coming to this country as a refugee. And if I may share with you the refugee's secret, almost every refugee comes with this secret to this country, which is we all believe that America is either New York City or it's California. There's nothing in between.
Right.
And then you come in with this huge house with a huge front yard and backyard, enough to put a soccer field behind it. And that money grows on a tree. You don't have to work. You just have this money.
Wow.
Every refugee, I don't care if you're coming from Asia, Africa, Europe, South America, all of us come with the same notion. How, why, no idea. It's just a common belief. And then coming in here and just realizing that life is not what I thought it was going to be. And the setback that my family and I had to go through and having to struggle to be where we are today. That, to me, what really got me through it is this, again, this kind of inspirational thing that every setback is a setup for a comeback.
That's
so
right.
That has always been leading me through my way, whether it's in my career, in my personal life. You cannot expect life to be perfect. Setbacks will happen. They will come. Expected may they be or not. They will be there. But having the mindset and the attitude that the comeback will follow, it's almost like the light at the end of the tunnel for all of us. And as a new American, as a refugee, I know that got me through a lot of disappointments, a lot of setbacks.
Yeah.
So if you're listening somewhere, if you're watching somewhere, this is my message.
Awesome. Okay. Yo, we're sprinkling gems, along the way, but I really love how you're ending the conversation. Last thing, where can we find you, Durgham? I know you're only on LinkedIn, so
unfortunately,
shout out the LinkedIn.
Shout out. Find me on LinkedIn, Durgham Alyasiri. It's phonetically spelled, so just take a shot at it.
Take a shot.
Or I can spell it. Durgham, Durgham is my first name, and my last name is Alyasiri, Alyasiri. I always say my last name ends with Siri, iPhone Siri. So when you see it,
there you
know
go.
it.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're gonna find you.
Easily.
They're gonna find you
easily
on LinkedIn.
Yep.
Leah, where can we find you?
Yes, well, I am on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, the World Wide
Snapchat?
Web. Not
Not
Snapchat,
Snapchat,
but I'm
line,
on TikTok though. I'm on TikTok.
Oh, TikTok, okay.
My 13-year-old just put me on there, but
Okay.
at Leah Angel Daniel, and I just want to say that my book will be released.
Shout the book. Okay, title. You gotta give it.
Yes.
Give it all.
Nationally, October 20th. I Shall Not Be Moved: My Extraordinary Journey from Trauma to Triumph. It will be in Barnes and Nobles, Amazon, and Books A Million. I will have a book signing in the Galleria Mall. Shout out to Latricia Davis. I will be having my book signing at her store November 1st from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. And this event will be on my social media platform. So I hope to see you all there. This book is juicy, as my girl Dietrich Trueheart would say. You do not want to miss out on grabbing this, and support me.
Let's support.
So like I support you all. So I'm looking forward to it, and thank you for allowing me to share.
Of course, and congratulations on that. That's no small feat. And I don't know how she does it. She's a mom. Listen, we can go through the list of all the things that she does.
You can stop at mom.
Listen, well, we could stop at mom.
Right?
We could stop at mom. But congratulations on that.
You.
Super excited. And we'll have to shout that out on our social media when it's released. So make sure you hit us on that too. So
thank you for having us.
Thank you for coming. We really enjoyed the conversation today, and we will see you next week.
Thank you.
Looking forward to it.
Peace, y'all.
Bye.
Thank you.